I refused to pay for my cousin's dowry. Now my family's trying to disown me, and you will not believe what they try to do next. I, female 20, had a very tough childhood because of my cousin Sarika, who always wanted me to be at fault. She never wanted to take responsibility of her actions, so instead, she blamed me for all her wrongdoing. She was the whole family's favorite because her parents and her husband were in charge of the family company. The family treated me badly, but my mother always stood by me. And it ended in the whole family disowning me because I refused to pay for Sarika's wedding dowry. I'm guessing you want me to tell you the whole story. Well, when I was born, my family did not really welcome me like they did the other kids that are born in the family. Let's just say I was different. My mom watched me being called names, and she could not do anything about it because she was seen as a sinner for having me without being married. One day, I was playing with Sarika. I accidentally broke her toy. Sarika's mother came to scold me. I could not really talk by then, but I tried to save myself by making expressions to show how sorry I truly was. Auntie Saanvi beat me up, even though I tried to apologize. My mom came by, and they had a heated argument with Aunt Saanvi because she beat me up so bad. The whole family was on Aunt Savi's side. They all said I was the problem, and I'm the most disrespectful child in the house. Mind you, I was only 2 years old by then, but my family had given me a title as the most disrespectful child in the house. My mother and I were then chased out of the house to go and live in the cottage next to the house. My mother was so sad when the family decided to chase us out of our own home. With my little power and energy, I helped her clean the cottage so we could move in. Even though we still got food from the house, we were not allowed to sit and eat with the dinner table. I grew up to the age of starting elementary school. My mother was struggling to pay for my school, and I was often chased home because of that. Every time my mother asked for money for my school fees, she was answered badly and insulted by the family. She then found a job to save up money to send me to a boarding school, as it would have saved us so much money. On the other hand, Sarika was taken to a very expensive private school. Apart from that, she had a private driver to drive her to school and back home. Whenever I went home for the holidays or weekends, I was insulted by my own family because, well, I was not like every other child born into our family. When I went to secondary school, my family saw that I was performing well, but they did not like it for me to performing well, when that means I have to take care of the company if I'm the best. And it's just not part of the family's plan since Sarika was everyone's favorite. They wanted her to be the only one in charge of the firm. My mom was a bit older than Sarika's parents, and she never got married. Plus, I had a light collar compared to the rest of the family. Everyone made fun of me for not having a father. So, because I was different, I was not really as part of the family as Sarika was. Every time there was an occasion at school, I was left out because my family did not want to pay for the little amount requested at the school for each student to take place in the field trips. I was never allowed to have friends either because I would apparently attract thieves. I was never really happy, unless when I was with my mom. She always looked after me, even though she had no money to support me. I was never distracted from my dreams, but my cruel and heartless family, and all I wanted was to prove to them that I can be everything I want with or without their help. All I wanted was to prove them wrong and rub it in their face that, as much as they called me a fatherless daughter, I can be the most successful daughter out there, and I'll prove it. I graduated high school, went to college. The same thing kept going on. My family always gave excuses every time I asked for money so I can continue schooling. I was unhappy because my family treated me like an outsider, but I guess every bad deed has a way of getting back on the owner. I made sure to study very hard because I wanted to leave the family house as soon as I graduate from college, and to not depend on anyone or anything. I finally graduated from college. It was the best day of my life. Although my family decided not to attend my graduation because they were avoiding to be, quote, society's hot gossip, apparently. But they could not stop Mom from coming. She always stood by me and defended my honor. My mother, she was so proud of me. I struggled to find a job for the first 6 months after graduation. One day, I received a call from one of the companies I applied to. I started working immediately, and I was getting paid really well, mind you. I had to live together with my mother in the cottage next to the whole family for a few more months, just to save up for enough for my own home. One day, I went home from work. I went to get something from the house, but it was empty. It seemed the whole house had gone somewhere, and I wasn't invited. I walked around the house, but I could not spot anyone. As I was passing by Sarika's parents' rooms, I overheard two people arguing about money. I had no idea who it was until I slightly jarred the door open. I noticed it was Sarika's mother and father. We cannot let the house know. They'll never trust us and mother will cast us out. I can't let that happen, Sarika's mother said, with so much fear and distress in her voice. There was definitely something they were hiding from the whole family, and I could sense that it was something that had to do with the family business. To be honest, even if I wanted to prove my family wrong so bad that I might even have to take over the company, I never want to be part of the family business, and that's the truth. My family was just so full of unnecessary drama. I wanted to be successful, not to be dependent on my family's money. And another reason that I found out that same day was that we had gone bankrupt. It was way serious than I ever imagined. But Sarika's parents decided to keep it a secret. I left for our cottage before they could notice me, and I could not afford to be caught up in this family scandal. After some hours, the whole family came back, and that's when Sarika announced she was getting married. Everyone was so happy. Even though her parents were happy, they had nervous smiles on their face. They probably wondered how to plan for Sarika's wedding without the whole family finding out about this disaster that's really happening. Well, I was happy for Sarika, even though she had always had a pain in my gut. At some point, I was glad that there's no money for her wedding, just for her to feel how I felt my whole entire life. I tried to congratulate Sarika, but she pushed me away. I moved out of her way, and she passed by after looking at me from head to toe like I was her most vile enemy. Or maybe I was. Since she never liked me, even though I was more educated than Sarika, she was still everyone's favorite. Anyways, the wedding preparations began. Everyone was happy, and the kids kept playing and dancing about. I'd never seen my family so happy. Sarika did not want a traditional wedding. Oh no, she wanted a modern white wedding. This put more pressure on her parents because a white wedding was even more expensive and elegant. She had no idea that she was about to get the whole family broke. And no one else knew about the problem with the family company except her parents. Oh yeah, and I, of course. Sarika was so demanding on how she wanted her wedding, and no one could complain because the whole family spoiled her rotten. So now that she's out of a hand when it's needed the most, since the company was going down and all like the Titanic, I kept going to work as usual, and I did not let her wedding take a rupee from my pocket because I was trying to save up for my new home and because she always disliked me. So I was also being mean for the first time in our life. Members of my family started looking at me as if I've done something wrong. I would have appreciated it if they'd forgotten about me the same way they cut me out of their lives when I was in school. Well, a few weeks later, Saanvi and her husband seemed to be up to something back in the house because they've started treating me differently. They had started talking to me with respect, like I was about to become president or something. Later in that day, my mother and I were called inside the house. We both had no clue why they were calling us, until Aunt Saanvi dropped this approach on us and offered chairs. She then sat and began. I do not know where to start, because we've all been treating you a little unfair, but it's all in the past now. Let's move on and be one big happy family and work together. What do you say, Mira? I could not believe Aunt Saanvi just said they've all treated us a little unfair. It seems she's forgotten what I've gone through just to get this degree I have on the wall. She had forgotten how mean the whole family was towards Mother and I. And she still had the guts to say we could put it behind us and live like one big happy family. She is out of her mind. My mother replied to her in a very unpleasant tone. Listen, Saanvi, we're not stupid, okay? You chased us out of the house because you thought my child was a troublemaker. She's working now and you see that, so you invite us here to tell us to forget about everything that's transpired? You have no idea what we went through, especially Aashvi. You have no idea how hard it was for her to go to school and not be able to take part in occasions because you refused to lend us money from father's company. I had to watch my daughter go to school barefooted because you decided to turn your backs against us. And here you are, telling me to forget about it. Forget about it? Forget about what? My mother had just said that was on my mind exactly. I wanted to put Saanvi in her place, but my mother already did it. Mother did not want to stay in that house a minute longer. She just felt disrespected and insulted. Quote, "It's not like that. Okay, I'm sorry. All I wanted for us to live happily. I want you both to move back into the big house, please." Mother took my hand and pulled me up as we stood and walked outside. As we walked out, she said to the whole family, "We had survived without your help, and we'll do just fine without you now." I could see how distressed Saanvi was. She wanted to jump on my mother's head. I knew she was up to no good. Well, the wedding day finally arrived, and I must say Sarika looked beautiful, and the wedding dress was fabulous. I was not invited to the wedding, of course. I didn't mind, though, because it's not the first time being left out by Sarika and the family. They always did so much my whole life like this. Even though Sarika's wedding was white, she still needed to pay dowry when she got to her in-laws' house. Later in the day, as everyone was enjoying themselves, I was called into the house by Aunt Saanvi. I went to meet with her, and I found all the elders gathered at the living room table. "Please sit," Saanvi's husband said to me in a very calm voice. Saanvi then turned to me and said calmly, "We called you here today to give you a very important task. We cannot think of a better option to take up this task than you, since you are the only cousin to Sarika who's grown up." I was trying so hard to think about what task she was about to try to give me, but I cannot think of anything they would want me to do. "We want to give you the honor of paying Sarika's wedding dowry. It would really mean a lot to your cousin. She loves you so much." Saanvi said to me with no shame at all. She wanted me to pay the dowry for a wedding I wasn't even invited to. Sarika's parents were even in charge of the company, but they had the audacity to ask me to pay for her dowry, someone who came from nothing. Now, that was disrespect on another level. I just could not believe my ears. Why the hell did they want me to pay for some expensive dowry when I was just starting to sort out my life and become somebody? I've never felt such outrage. What the hell do you mean I should pay for Sarika's dowry? Where are her parents? I financially struggled my whole life. Did any of you ever think of lending me a helping hand? I invited you to my graduation. Did anybody in this room come? You said you could not afford to be the talk of the town because of me, and now you're here asking me to pay Sarika's dowry. You people have the audacity to ask me to pay when I was not even invited to her wedding. You all quietly watched us being kicked out of our own home because I broke Sarika's toy. I've never spoken to them with such rage. They all looked at me with surprise because they did not expect me to respond the way I did. I was born into a uber-rich family because I was different. They treated me differently, then asked me to pay my cousin's dowry. And they made it seem like it would be an honor to pay this Sarika's dowry as if she was some kind of prince or queen. The audacity. Society forced us to treat you like the way we did. We could not afford to get our reputation tarnished. We are a respected family, and we need to keep it that way. I'm sorry for everything that's happened to you, but we did not have a choice, Saanvi muttered to me. The whole family got mad at me for refusing to pay the dowry, so they all came to an agreement to chase me out of the house. They said I was useless to them, and that I was only bringing bad luck to the family. Honestly, I was glad they decided to chase me out of their house for good. Quote, "And there you go with your stupid excuses again. You keep blaming society for everything that's happened in our family. It's because of your stupid, selfish excuses that the company's bankrupt." I said it with a smile, responding to Saanvi's last statement in anger. Everyone looked at me shocked and confused. They had no idea. I was talking about something they had no clue about. Because Sarika's parents had been hiding the truth from all of you, and they want to try to fool everybody. Everyone kept asking what I just said, and I said, "You all heard what I said. Your company's about to go down faster than the iceberg on the Titanic because the people you trusted playing some dirty games." I overheard them talking, and it sounded like they were involved in some very corrupt things. It's their biggest investment. And since you want me out of your house, I'll gladly go, without even thinking twice about it. I hope you all have a nice life. I stood up to make my grand exit, leaving everyone shocked and stressed. Saanvi ran to me and started crying at my feet to help her daughter out, begging me. Otherwise, they're all going to be ruined. I pushed her off my clean shoes and left. We later moved out of the cottage as I had just purchased a new home. Sarika's parents were later arrested for bankruptcy, and the family was evicted from the house. Well, that's what I call karma. So guys, this was a pretty toxic and vile story. Shout out to OP for holding herself together, even though her entire family was going after her. And it looked like they were only trying to love her when they needed her money. Drop your thoughts down below what you thought about this story, and maybe some advice you'd give OP about this toxic situation she's in. The second story we're going to look at today is the final story of the video. The title is simple. It's 4 words. It says, "Sell me your house." Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Here's your second story. A couple years ago, my dear husband and I bought a house from the city council. We'd seen it, and we loved everything about it and the neighborhood. Inspections showed that apart from the central heating boiler, everything was in good order. We still needed to replace the central heater boiler. We also renovated the bathroom and the stairs, and we placed a new kitchen between then and now. We have invested money in our home. Amongst other things, we placed solar panels, renovated the front, back garden, renovated our downstairs toilet. For reference, we've lived here for about 6 years now, and we have no intention on moving. Apart from the fact that we pumped a lot of money into this house, we love the neighborhood, our neighbors, and the fact that we're close to the family and friends. The way of the council sold houses went as followed. The house was up for sale for 6 weeks. If you're interested, you could schedule a visit with the real estate agent, place a bid if you wanted, and then after the 6th week, the city council would look at all the bids and see who offered the most. 2 weeks ago, I was home when a lady rang the doorbell. She introduced herself and told me, when the house came up for sale all those years ago, she and her husband were very interested. They could see the potential, but their bid was just simply rejected. She was enthused about how it looked now, from what she could see at least, and how beautiful the garden was, how wonderful the solar panels were, and such. So I thanked her for her compliments and waited for the reason why she rang the doorbell. She told me that since they had more money saved, she and her husband wanted to know if we were interested in selling them the house. I told her that sorry, we're not interested. She started whining, giving me an offer, and I told her the same, not interested at all. Well, more whining ensued, and she made me a new offer. I kindly drew the line and said that she can offer all she wants. We love living here. We want to enjoy our home with our family that we've built. Then I told her that I had things to do and wished her good day and closed the door. I barely turned around when she started ringing the doorbell continuously. So I opened up the door and asked her what she needed to say. She told me this almost verbatim. "You need to sell us this house. You've lived here for some years now. My husband and children deserve a nice house like this. I gave you 2 offers that are more than reasonable. It's our turn now to sell us the house. We want to live here." I told this woman that her offers were laughable. She gave 2 offers while we knew that we could ask for double the price and get that. She lowballed. I reiterated that we're not interested and we would not sell the house at all to her. I asked her to leave and closed the door. Well, like before, she starts ringing the doorbell like a mad woman. After trying to ignore it, I ripped open the front door and shouted in her face for her to get lost. We're not interested. Even if we were, I would not sell my house to her since she's acting like a spoiled brat. I wouldn't want my neighbors to deal with her spoiled attitude. I told her that she doesn't need to think about trying to bully us into moving and to get the duck away, or I'd be calling the police. This time I slammed the door to get my message across. She stayed, screaming at the door that we have to sell the home to her, and walked around a bit before leaving. So I sent a message in our Streets group app about her. People have said to keep an eye out for her. My dear husband was stunned when I told him this. It's not a normal thing in our country to do. She's been seen once or twice, but has not caused problems for any of us ever since. Okay, so here's some decent advice from a commenter. It says, hey, I would recommend recording the next call you get and then replaying it when someone calls again. Extra points for recording multiple ones. My dad and his brother did this when they were kids, and some old man kept calling their home about some fishing rights that were from the 40s. After they recorded one of his calls and then replayed it, the next time he called, the call stopped after that. So guys, you drop some advice down below what you would tell OP to get these phone calls to stop. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. Consider subscribing as there's daily videos of some of the most dramatic stories that you've ever heard. Have a wonderful day, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.